Today, we are looking at 5 exhaust brands I would be extremely careful about buying in the United States, especially if your definition of a bolt-on exhaust is something that actually bolts onto the car without requiring a welder, 3 hours of profanity, 2 trips to AutoZone, and a professional fabricator explaining that the pipe apparently identifies as the correct shape. And before somebody immediately goes to the comments and says, "I have this brand, and mine is perfect," that can absolutely happen. Some owners have had good experiences with every brand in this video. That is exactly why this is not a ranking from number 5 to number 1, and I am not claiming every exhaust these companies manufacture is defective. What I am looking at is risk. Recurring complaints involving fitment, rattles, drone, questionable hardware, unexpected fabrication work, and applications where the cheap purchase price can disappear the moment an exhaust shop has to modify the system. We will talk about specific models, specific cars, and actual owner experiences, because saying cheap exhaust bad for 15 minutes would be about as useful as telling you water is wet. If you have owned one of these systems, tell me your car, the exact exhaust, and how long you have had it. And subscribe to VH Car if you like reviews that actually tell you when saving $400 might end up costing you another $400. The important thing to understand before we begin is that an exhaust system is deceptively simple. It looks like pipes, mufflers, hangers, and clamps. How difficult can that be? Very difficult, apparently, because a difference of half an inch in a hanger location can put a pipe against a sway bar. A flange that is slightly warped can create a leak. A muffler that is not properly designed for the engine's firing frequency can create enough highway drone to make a 3-hour interstate trip feel like you are sitting inside a commercial refrigerator. And stainless steel itself is not one universal material. Different grades have different corrosion resistance, while weld quality, tubing thickness, bracket placement, and resonance control all affect whether your bargain exhaust remains a bargain. So when I say I would not recommend these brands for the average buyer, I am not necessarily saying the system cannot work. I am saying I would rather pay for predictable fitment once than pay less money and discover my direct fit exhaust needs custom fabrication. Spec D tuning. Let's begin with Spec D tuning, because this is probably one of the most recognizable names in the budget aftermarket world. Spec D currently sells exhaust systems for everything from older Civics to newer turbocharged models. For example, its current stainless catback for the 2016-2021 Honda Civic sedan 1.5 turbo uses 2.3-inch piping and a 3.8-inch tip, while its N1 style system for the 2006-2011 Civic sedan uses 2.5-inch T304 stainless piping, CNC machined flanges, and a removable silencer. Spec D markets these as direct bolt-on systems and recommends professional installation. On paper, that sounds exactly like what a budget enthusiast wants. Stainless construction, aggressive styling, larger piping, and a complete kit without a 4-figure price tag. The problem is that owner reports show just how application-dependent that direct bolt-on experience can become. One verified review of a Spec D N1 style Accord system said the larger tubing contacted the vehicle's heat shielding, requiring longer hangers, and the owner reported that flange surfaces had to be ground flatter to eliminate leaks. Another recent review of the same product family said the bends did not line up correctly and the system was being pushed against the body. On a different Spec D Civic system, verified buyers reported incorrect bends, poorly positioned hangers, and an exhaust shop having to cut and modify the system to make it fit. That does not prove every Spec D kit is bad, but it does show exactly why I hesitate to recommend one to someone expecting an easy Saturday driveway installation. And fitment is only half of the equation. The other issue is sound. Cheap exhausts often win the YouTube test because the video lasts 30 seconds. You hear the cold start, somebody revs the engine to 5,000 RPM, the owner smiles, and everybody goes home. What you do not hear is what happens 45 minutes later at 72 m with the engine sitting at the exact RPM where the cabin resonates. In an Acura RSX community discussion, multiple Spec D owners complained about poor fitment rattling, and strong drone, although other owners in the same thread were satisfied with their systems. That mixed experience is actually the important part. You may receive something you love, or you may receive a fabrication project disguised as an exhaust system. Would I say nobody should ever buy Spec D? No. If you own an inexpensive project car, you can weld. You do not mind adjusting hangers, and the system costs dramatically less than a premium alternative. I understand the attraction completely. If you have a $3,000 Civic and just want it to sound more entertaining, spending $1,500 on an exhaust can be financially ridiculous. But if this is your daily driver and you are specifically paying for something because it says direct bolt-on, I would rather spend more on a system with a stronger application-specific fitment record. The cost of an exhaust is not the number printed on the website. It is purchase price plus installation plus whatever has to be corrected afterward. And this is where I want to hear from the Honda and Acura people watching. If you have actually run a Spec D system for 2 or 3 years, tell us whether it rusted, rattled, droned, or stayed completely fine. Do not just write Spec D sucks or Spec D is amazing. Tell us the car and the exact system, because somebody watching this video may be considering the same part for the same chassis. DNA Motoring. The second brand I would approach very carefully is DNA Motoring. This is another huge name in the inexpensive aftermarket space, and the company says it has operated in the automotive aftermarket since 2007 with facilities in the United States and overseas. DNA sells exhaust products along with lighting, cooling equipment, and truck accessories. So this is not some anonymous seller that appeared online yesterday. One of its widely sold applications is the CBE HC922 NRT Catback for 1992 to 2000 Honda Civic coupes and sedans. Advertised with T304 stainless construction, TIG welded CNC flanges, and mandrel bent piping. There are also systems such as the CBE ARSX NS NRT for the 2002-2006 Acura RSX non-Type S. And to be completely fair, DNA Motoring has satisfied customers. A recent Scion TC owner described a DNA axleback as affordable, easy to install, and properly aligned, with only slightly thinner hangers causing more movement than stock. Another Corvette owner using a DNA axleback said installation required only minor adjustment and called it excellent value for the money. Even reviews of the Civic system include owners who report perfect fitment and good sound. So this is not a situation where I can tell you every box contains an automotive crime scene. But there are enough conflicting reports that I would not recommend buying one blindly. Reviews of DNA applications have described pipes hanging unusually low, systems coming up short, hanger locations requiring adjustment, excessive rasp, and baffles vibrating. A G35 community discussion specifically described owners having to cut or bend hangers and wrestle dual exhaust kits into position. Another long-running G35 forum discussion summarized recurring complaints about packaging, poor out-of-box fitment, drone, and inconsistent build quality. Again, those are owner reports rather than controlled laboratory tests. But when multiple people buying inexpensive bolt-on parts are talking about welding, that deserves attention. Material quality has also generated complaints on individual products. One US buyer review of a DNA catback described visible corrosion and disputed the advertised stainless steel quality, while other owners of the same general brand have reported years of trouble-free use. That inconsistency is the reason DNA ends up in this video. I am not saying the brand cannot make a good exhaust. I am saying that when I spend money on something mounted underneath a vehicle that sees rain, salt, heat cycles, and thousands of miles of vibration, I do not want quality control to feel like opening a mystery box. If you live somewhere like Arizona and your project car only comes out on sunny weekends, corrosion resistance may not be your #1 concern. If you live in Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, or anywhere that treats winter roads like somebody is trying to season the entire state, suddenly material quality matters a lot more. A shiny exhaust sitting inside a warehouse and a shiny exhaust surviving 3 salty winters are 2 completely different engineering tests. And if you are finding this useful, Leave a like and subscribe to VHCar, because this is exactly the kind of detail that disappears when people review modifications 5 minutes after installation. I care less about how beautiful the exhaust looks while sitting on a garage floor, and more about what it looks like after 30,000 miles. J2 Engineering. The third brand is J2 Engineering, and this one gives us a fantastic example of why checking the exact model number matters. J2 describes itself as an aftermarket performance company, working with an R&D factory to develop products, and its catalog has included exhaust systems for Honda, Acura, Toyota, Nissan, Volkswagen, and other vehicles. One particular system worth discussing is the J2 CBE OS 033, marketed for the 2002-2006 Toyota Camry with the 2.4-liter four-cylinder. Retail listings describe it as a stainless catback system with TIG-welded CNC flanges and a vehicle-specific fit. Now imagine buying a bolt-on exhaust, putting the car on stands, removing the old system, sliding the shiny new pieces underneath the car, and discovering you are missing almost a foot of exhaust. That sounds like a comedy sketch, but multiple reviews of the J2 CBE OS 033 describe exactly that type of problem. One buyer with a 2004 Camry said all 5 hangers lined up, but the front connection was almost a foot short. Another reported the system was approximately 9 inches too short. A third described cutting the resonator pipe, adding roughly 8 inches, and relocating hangers to make the system work. Those complaints are unusually specific, and because they involve the same application, they are much more meaningful than somebody simply writing "bad quality" with no explanation. That is a deal breaker for my recommendation. A performance exhaust sometimes needs minor adjustment. Rubber hangers move. Factory cars have tolerances. A used 20-year-old Camry may have replacement catalytic converters or previous exhaust work that changes alignment. I understand all of that, but there is a huge difference between loosening clamps and rotating a muffler 3 degrees versus adding 8 or 9 inches of missing pipe. One is installation. The other is fabrication. Other J2 products have received much better feedback. A current eBay listing for a J2 Civic system includes owners praising its tone, welds, value, and long-term durability, although one recent buyer still reported having to flatten badly warped flange surfaces before installation. A carried review of a different J2 system also praised the resulting sound, but criticized extremely basic packaging and the lack of useful installation instructions. So once again, we are not dealing with a universally terrible product. We are dealing with inconsistent experiences that make me uncomfortable recommending the brand without first researching the exact part number and exact chassis. If you are an experienced fabricator, that changes everything. You can buy a cheap system, cut a section, clock a flange, move a hanger, and suddenly you have a perfectly usable exhaust for less money. But the average person ordering an exhaust online is not buying raw materials for a welding project. They are buying something advertised for their car. The box should arrive, the system should go underneath the vehicle, and the holes should meet other holes. This is an exhaust system, not IKEA furniture where the final step is discovering you accidentally built a nightstand. Auto Dynasty, the fourth brand I would be cautious about is Auto Dynasty. And this is probably the most controversial inclusion, because Auto Dynasty sells some extremely inexpensive systems that have accumulated plenty of positive reviews. For example, its budget catback for 1992-2000 Honda Civic coupes and sedans has hundreds of buyer ratings and is typically marketed with stainless construction, a large 4-inch muffler tip, and approximately 2.25-inch piping. Current listings place these systems far below the price of many premium exhausts, which explains why they are so attractive to first-time modifiers. And some owners genuinely love them. A 2026 review of an Auto Dynasty exhaust for a 2000 Honda Accord praised the build quality, sound, and easy leak-free installation. Owners of one of the company's Nissan Titan systems have similarly praised fit and sound. This is why I refuse to make one of those lazy videos claiming a company has never produced anything good. Clearly, some applications work very well, but look at other applications and the experience changes. Reviews of an Auto Dynasty system for the 2000-2005 Mitsubishi Eclipse include owners reporting that hangar locations required modification, while another said the system would not fit a 2004 GS as advertised. Reviews for older Civic systems include reports of piping rubbing against nearby components, while another Auto Dynasty Civic application has owner complaints about an incorrectly bent mid-pipe contacting the heat shield and creating cabin rattles. Then there is sound tuning. An Auto Dynasty catback sold for the 2008-2014 Subaru Impreza WRX has at least one recent owner review describing severe drone and claiming the internal muffling did not behave as expected, while another owner of the same product praised the fitment, fabrication, and sound. That contrast is almost the entire theme of this video. A cheap exhaust may be fantastic for one person and unbearable for another because sound is not simply loud or quiet. Frequency matters. Resonance matters. Transmission gearing matters. Engine modifications matter. A car cruising at 2,300 RPM can be perfectly comfortable, while the same exhaust at 2,800 RPM turns the cabin into an industrial bass amplifier. Would I recommend Auto Dynasty for a dedicated cheap project where the owner understands the risk? Possibly. Would I recommend ordering one for your daily driver on Friday because you absolutely need the car operational for work Monday morning? I would be much less enthusiastic. Budget systems make more sense when you have time, tools, and the willingness to fix small problems yourself. Otherwise, the money you saved can disappear very quickly. Tell me in the comments what your cheapest successful modification has been. I want to know who bought a $150 exhaust 10 years ago and is somehow still driving around with it completely intact, because those stories matter too. Cheap does not automatically mean bad. The entire question is how frequently cheap becomes expensive later. Rev 9, Jersey's Rev 9 Power. And the fifth brand I would not automatically recommend to the average buyer is Rev 9 Power, especially certain FlowMax X systems. Rev 9 is interesting because it operates much closer to the middle of the market than some ultra-cheap marketplace kits. The company says it has served enthusiasts since 2010. And its current exhaust catalog contains more than 50 catback applications covering everything from Honda and Nissan to Volkswagen, Lexus, and even Audi R8 systems. Current examples include a 2.75-inch single-exit stainless catback for the Honda S2000 Talers and multiple FlowMax X systems for cars such as the Nissan 350Z, Civic Hatchback, and Lexus GX. There are also Rev 9 systems that owners genuinely praise. A Fiesta ST owner described the 3-inch FlowMax X system as extremely well made with good pipe quality and welds. That sounds excellent, until you read the next sentence. The same owner said drone between roughly 3,000 thalers and 3,500 RPM was close to unbearable, and also reported difficulty preventing the system from occasionally contacting a metal support beneath the vehicle. Other 350Z owners have reported pipes contacting rear chassis components or needing substantial adjustment to clear sway bars. The Fiesta ST example is especially useful because Rev 9's own product page identifies that FlowMax X system as a 3-inch T201 stainless setup for 2014-2019 Fiesta ST models. The company lists it for off-road and competition use only, and states that it does not ship that product to California or New York. So even before discussing drone, a streetcar buyer needs to read the actual product page rather than seeing Fiesta ST exhaust and assuming it is suitable for every state and every use case. That legal and application-specific detail matters across the aftermarket. A catback generally sits behind the catalytic converter, but that does not automatically mean every system is legal everywhere. States and municipalities have noise rules. Manufacturers can designate specific products for competition use, and modifying other portions of the exhaust can completely change the legal situation. Always check the exact system and your local requirements rather than taking legal advice from somebody whose entire qualification is owning a socket set and an Instagram account. Rev9 also has reports that go in the opposite direction. Some G35 owners currently describe the brand as decent value, noting that the systems may require adjustment but can sound good for the money. A 2025 G37 owner successfully adapted inexpensive Rev9 piping into a custom system and was surprised at how quiet and usable the result became. That is why Rev9 is not here, because I think its products are universally junk. It is here because I think the buyer needs to understand what they are purchasing. If your priority is absolutely zero drone, perfect OEM-style fitment, and no adjustment whatsoever, I would spend more. If you are building a project, can tolerate some tweaking and care primarily about getting large diameter stainless piping at a lower price, Rev9 starts making considerably more sense. And now we arrive at the part most exhaust videos completely ignore. What should you actually buy instead? I am not going to pretend one brand is automatically perfect for every car, because exhaust design is extremely application-specific. Borla might be fantastic on one Mustang and too quiet for somebody else's taste. MagnaFlow may be ideal for a truck owner who wants a deeper tone without becoming the neighborhood alarm clock. AWE has applications famous for sound engineering and drone control, but the price can make a budget enthusiast stare at the checkout screen like the website accidentally added a second exhaust. NVIDIA, HKS, Greddy, Corsa, and other established manufacturers all have strong applications. But even premium companies can produce a system whose sound you personally hate. The smart purchase begins with the chassis, engine, and transmission, not with blindly choosing a logo. If I were buying an exhaust tomorrow, I would look at 5 things before pressing the button. First, I would search the exact part number with my exact year, engine, transmission, and body style. A 2010 Civic sedan and a 2010 Civic Coupe are not magically the same vehicle because the headlights look related. Second, I would look for installation photos underneath the car, not just exhaust tip photos. I want to see hanger positions, flange alignment, sway bar clearance, and bumper clearance. Third, I would find highway interior videos recorded at steady RPM. Revving in a parking lot tells me almost nothing about drone. Fourth, I would check the material specification. T304 stainless is generally preferable for corrosion resistance compared with cheaper stainless grades when the price difference is reasonable, particularly in snowbelt states. Fifth, I would read the return policy before installation because an exhaust that has been installed, modified, or scratched may become much harder to return. And please understand one thing about horsepower claims. If a company tells you a simple naturally aspirated catback will suddenly add 25 horsepower, do not immediately schedule a race against a Corvette. Exhaust gains depend on the engine, existing restrictions, tuning, and other modifications. On some vehicles, a catback can produce measurable gains. On others, the difference is mostly sound and weight. Buy an exhaust because the entire package, flow, construction, weight, appearance, and sound makes sense. Not because the product listing promises a number large enough to make your stock Civic appear afraid of itself. There is also nothing wrong with having a local exhaust shop build something. Sometimes enthusiasts become so obsessed with purchasing a boxed brand name catback that they forget a skilled local fabricator can build a properly fitted stainless system around the exact muffler and resonator combination you want. That can be especially smart on older vehicles where factory mounting points have been repaired, catalytic converters have been replaced, or previous owners have already modified half the system. A custom exhaust built on the vehicle can solve fitment problems before they exist. The key word there is skilled. The guy holding a Harbor Freight welder in one hand and a cigarette in the other saying, "Yeah, I can probably make this work," may produce a different result. So if I had to summarize the 5 brands in this video, the warning is not the same for everyone. Spec D tuning concerns me primarily because of repeated application-specific reports of fitment, rattling, and flange alignment issues. DNA motoring offers extraordinary prices and has happy customers. but owner experiences with fitment, sound, and long-term material quality are inconsistent enough that I would research the exact system carefully. J2 Engineering has applications with good reviews, but the repeated reports involving the Camry J2 CBE OS 033 being dramatically too short are enough for me to avoid that specific kit. Auto Dynasty can offer phenomenal value when the application fits correctly, but reported hanger, piping, and resonance inconsistencies make professional installation a safer plan. And Rev 9 Power offers more serious performance-oriented products than its price might suggest. But drone, chassis clearance, and product-specific competition use restrictions mean you absolutely need to know which Rev 9 system you are buying. None of that means you are stupid if you own one. None of it means every expensive exhaust is automatically better. And none of it means a $200 exhaust cannot last 10 years. What it means is that price is only one part of value. A $250 exhaust that bolts on perfectly, sounds good, and lasts 6 years is an amazing purchase. A $250 exhaust that requires $300 worth of welding, touches the chassis, drones at highway speed, and gets replaced 12 months later is a $550 lesson. If you have owned Spec D, DNA Motoring, J2 Engineering, Auto Dynasty, or Rev 9, this is where I need you in the comments. Tell me the car, engine, exact exhaust, how much you paid, whether it fit without modification, and how long it lasted. If your experience was excellent, say that. If it was terrible, explain exactly what failed. That gives the next person something far more useful than simply writing trash. And while you are down there, tell me what exhaust brand you actually trust. If enough people answer, we can make the opposite video. 5 exhaust brands actually worth your money. Subscribe to VHCar if you want that one. Leave a like if this video saved you from ordering an exhaust at 2 in the morning purely because the tip looked cool. And remember this the next time you see the words "Direct Bolt-On" printed in giant letters beside a suspiciously cheap price. Sometimes it bolts on. Sometimes your mechanic bolts you onto the invoice.